Protesters against the Israeli government's judicial overhaul plan to demonstrate at and around the Ben Gurion airport near Tel Aviv. Well, the protests, they are being held with the aim of disrupting the Prime Minister Netanyahu's flight to Germany on Wednesday afternoon. The organisers say thousands of vehicles will try to drive slowly at the access roads to the airport, causing traffic jams from around 12:30 p.m. today. Well, last week, protests forced Netanyahu to take a helicopter from Jerusalem to the airport ahead of his trip to Italy. Protesters against the judicial reform bills have been going on now for weeks across Israel. Violent confrontations between police and protesters have also taken place. However, these demonstrations reached new tipping point on Tuesday. Protesters, they were blocking the road leading to the PM's office compound with chains and pipes.
We're blocking the road to the government offices. We're here because our government is promoting steps that will hurt our democracy. Our country is not good with equality, not for minorities, not for people who are not Jewish, not for women, not for LGBTQs. And if the reform which they're promoting right now will pass, things will get much worse. Our only protection, which isn't perfect as it is, will just disappear. And we're very worried. We're here for the people we care about. We're here for the people we don't even know who are getting hurt from this reform.
Well, the Israeli legislator Knesset on Tuesday advanced a key bill. It limits the Supreme Court's ability to overturn laws it deems unconstitutional. However, it still needs to be approved at a second and a third reading before it becomes law. Well, for more, our correspondent Jody Cohen joins us live. Jody, good to see you. Tell us more about what's happening at the airport.
Good to see you too. So I am at Ben Gurion Airport, which is Israel's main airport. The police said they will allow protesters to protest in the vicinity around the airport on Wednesday. And in just under a couple of hours, local time, protesters are aiming to disrupt Prime Minister Netanyahu's arrival for his flight to Berlin, as they did to a certain extent, as you said, last week with his flight to Rome, when he had to get a helicopter to the airport instead of arriving by car. Now, the police central district commander has said that the right to protest is a cornerstone of democracy, and the police and protest organisers are coordinating to enable rescue teams access, if needed, to the airport. Organisers said that the trains also to the airport will remain unaffected. Now, there have been some violent incidents throughout the weeks of all these protests we've been seeing, but on the whole, they've largely gone by peacefully. And Thursday has also been announced as a day of disruption. As I said, we've seen 10 weeks of protests now, with up to 500,000 people taking to the streets to have their voices heard. There's big concern about the legislation, which the opposition says would harm democracy. The coalition says the proposals would make Parliament stronger, which they say would make democracy stronger. And there are many people in the middle who believe that on the one hand, the judiciary is too strong, and on the other hand, the proposals would make government too strong. And many people are hoping for a compromise solution on the matter.
You just said there about a compromise. How realistic is that, do you think, Jody?
That's a difficult one. I mean, President Herzog, he has said he's devoting all of his time and energy to finding a compromise solution. He's expected to present a compromise framework in the coming days. Various other compromise ideas have also been published, but as of yet, there's been no direct talks between the coalition and the opposition. The coalition says that they will talk, but with no preconditions, and that they won't stop the legislative process. The opposition says that they will talk, but only once the legislation is halted. Meanwhile, the coalition has moved all the key elements of the judicial reform closer to the finish line. The bills are now back at the committee stage, heading to the second and third readings. Remember, the chair of the Parliamentary Justice Committee, Simcha Rothman, early on in this process, he told us that he believes that at the second reading, that is the time for amendments to be made to these bills. But it remains to be seen what happens next. We know that Justice Minister Levin would like to pass all of these bills by the end of this month. The protests are likely to continue, and we'll certainly know more in the coming days and weeks.
OK, we look forward to checking back in with you to find out more, as you say, in the next few days or so. Jodie Cohen, thank you, our correspondent there in Israel.
Thank you.